Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Bala Giri Vanadari Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Bala Giri Vanadari Jaya Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Bala Giri Vanadari Jaya Gopi Jana Bala Giri Vanadari Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Asatara Satasisi Mad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. His Kambi B.T. Founder Acharya Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories of Śrīla Prabhupāda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today's Sunday reading, 10th canto, chapter 66, text 28, Pundraka, the false Vasudev. 25. I said 26. Thank you. Verse 25, which is there on the board. Sira patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam kim idaṁ kasya vaktram iti saṁśiśire janāḥ sira patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam kim idaṁ kasya vaktram iti saṁśiśire janāḥ sira patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam kim idaṁ kasya vaktram iti saṁśiśire janāḥ sira patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam kim idaṁ kasya vaktram sira patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam sira patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam iti saṁśiśire janāḥ patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam kim idaṁ kasya vaktram iti saṁśiśire janāḥ. Any ladies? Sira patitam ālokya rāja-dvāre sa-kuṇḍalam kim idaṁ kasya vaktram iti saṁśiśire janāḥ. Śiraḥ, the head. Patitam, fallen. Ālokya, seeing. Rāja-dvāre, at the gate of the royal palace. Sa-kuṇḍalam, with earrings. Kim, what? Idam, is this? Kasya, whose? Va, or. Vaktram, head. Iti, thus. Saṁśiśire, express doubt. Janāḥ, the people. Translation, purport by the disciples of Śrīla Prabhupāda. Seeing a head decorated with earrings lying at the gate of the royal palace, the people present were puzzled. Some of them asked this, and others said, "It is a head." But whose is it? Can repeat. Seeing a head decorated with earrings, lying at the gate of the royal palace. The people present were puzzled. Some of them asked, "What is this?" And others said, "It's a head. But whose is it?" Purport. Śrīla Prabhupāda writes as follows: when the head of the King of Kāśī was thrown through the city gate, people gathered and were astonished to see that wonderful thing. When they found out that there were earrings on it, they could understand it was someone's head. They conjectured as to whose head it might be. Some thought it was Kṛṣṇa's head, because Kṛṣṇa was the enemy of Kāśirāja. And they calculated that the King of Kāśī might have thrown Kṛṣṇa's head into the city so that the people might take pleasure in the enemies having been killed. But it was finally detected that the head was not Kṛṣṇa's, but that of Kāśirāja himself. Hare Krishna. Om Ajñānatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakṣūlan Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svaya Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapatandikam Panchakalpa Tarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So as Kartik continues, I was thinking that all these great devotees coming here during Kartik, that Dharmatma would forget about me, but he caught me yesterday and put me here. I was this humility. I'll try to speak amongst all of you wonderful devotees here in Vrindavan. If any of you were here at Mangal Arti this morning, you would have seen the most amazing thing. There was devotees outside of the gate attending Mangal Arti this morning. It was so crowded inside the temple room this morning, not an inch. Devotees will often say how when Prabhupada was building the temple here, they often said, "No one will come." No one will come. Who's going to go so far away? This is vision of the pure devotee. I was also thinking the same thing, in the middle of nowhere. Juhu was in the middle of nowhere. Srila Prabhupada developed these temples. Mayapur, other than the Gaudiya Sampradaya, was middle of nowhere. The biggest temple, all of India there. So this is a very interesting verse in so many ways. People were puzzled. If we saw a head outside the front here, puzzled would not be how we felt, I don't think. Puzzled would not be the expression. People were puzzled. They saw this head. But then when they saw the earrings, oh, it's a head. And it has earrings. So it must be the head of a prominent personality. It must be royal person because it has earrings. We don't hear anywhere that people were mortified, people were fainting, all kinds of things, seeing a head. Almost seems like it was not so abnormal. You might find a head somewhere. I know when I very first association with Prabhupada, other than getting first initiation, which was very quick in the temple room, but the first time I associated with him personally was in his garden in Los Angeles, New Dwarka. And Prabhupada every day was having his disciples read from Kṛṣṇa book. At that time, that's what we had. This was 1972. So Kṛṣṇa book had been one of our biggest sellers. Devotees would distribute this huge Kṛṣṇa book. Because George Harrison's name is all we would do, would open up to the page George Harrison had written there. And that's all you would have to do to sell a Kṛṣṇa book in those days. It was very simple. But, as I said many times, there were just 5 of us in Prabhupada's garden with him. And the first day I entered with Kirtanananda Swami, because I was with him, I got to go into the garden. No other reason. No, I wasn't anyone that should have been in the garden. But I was there. And the devotee who had been reading Kṛṣṇa book to Prabhupada every afternoon, he left the day before. So somehow or other, as we were, few of us walking in, Karandar handed me the Kṛṣṇa book. When Prabhupada asked, you read Kṛṣṇa book. So, of course, Prabhupada came in, everyone offered our obeisances. And shortly after that, Prabhupada looked at me. I was just like you're there, Dharma, and I had the book. And he looked at me and he said, I like the cowherd boys very much. And then he said, read. And the story I read was much like this. It was a lot of blood, and Kṛṣṇa killed this demon. And I was just very happily reading the story, and everyone's listening, and Prabhupada, he's listening as well. But when I came to the point, and I don't even remember which story it was, but when I came to the point that this demon was killed in a very violent fashion, Prabhupada started laughing. And he kept laughing. And then his body started shaking in his laugh. If you've ever seen, it's unfortunate we don't have 2 minutes reel of Srila Prabhupada as his laugh progresses. So he just kept laughing louder and louder. And then his body started shaking. And tears coming out of his eyes. And he's just laughing and laughing. So because he was laughing, we all started laughing. That's why we were laughing. It had nothing to do with Kṛṣṇa killing the demon. It was seeing Prabhupada in so much ecstasy, so happy, like in this situation. Not puzzled. Prabhupada was delighted. Kṛṣṇa killed this demon and laughing, and it's slapping his leg. I saw Prabhupada do that 3 times in 2.5 years, slap his leg laughing. We laugh. I've never seen anyone laugh like Srila Prabhupada could laugh. This is definitely ecstatic symptom. This is an ecstatic symptom Prabhupada had. Laughing, slapping his knee. And then he went on. I won't go on with that. The next day I read another story. I picked a story, and I assumed Prabhupada would laugh when I read a certain line in that story. And looking back, I'm amazed. When I said that line, Prabhupada started laughing again. This was 2nd day in a row, laughing, enjoying so much, hearing, seeing Krishna's pastimes. We're listening, but seeing Prabhupada, how a devotee reacts, it was on a much different level than anything I've ever seen, and I've never seen it before or after anyone laugh like that. I had been in New Vrindavan at that time for a year. I had been there for a year. That's when I received Brahman initiation from Srila Prabhupada. We didn't laugh. I don't remember laughing very much in New Vrindavan. I remember working very, very hard. That's what I remember. Our motto was, we're living Bhagavad Gita, not reading Bhagavad Gita. That was That was Kirtanananda's philosophy. We're living Bhagavad Gita. But everything very, very serious. Those of you who know me a little bit know I may not appear like the most serious person. Prabhupada said I was easygoing. Once in Hawaii, I've been with him now for 2 years, and the temple president, he had made some ill-motivated moves. He had taken money. Anyway, he was kicked out. And Prabhupada said, prosecute him. He stole from Kṛṣṇa. Everything is given to Kṛṣṇa, not our property. We get to do service, we get to take care of it, whatever. But if one thinks, this is mine, that's a big difficulty. So, gee, I already lost my train of thought. So, yes, in Hawaii, so they were thinking, who can be temple president? And my godbrothers, Paramahamsa at that time, and Nitai was a Sanskrit editor, we were all in the room with Prabhupada, and they said, oh, Srutakiriti could do it. And Prabhupada, he didn't slap his leg laughing, but he just laughed. He said, no, he's too easygoing. He said it was just, as he said, a matter of fact. It wasn't a criticism. It was just, that's not his quality. Not quality to be temple president, because you have to, can't be easygoing. Especially in Hawaii, Prabhupada is one of the places he would say no lazies and no crazies. That was Hawaii temple. Hawaii's known for having lazies and crazies in Hawaii. So Prabhupada could understand everything very easily. But what I saw that day reading Kṛṣṇa book was Kṛṣṇa consciousness. It's a fun process. Supposed to be happy. Prabhupada said, if you're not happy, then what are you doing here? Our goal is to be happy. How to get that happiness? See, even happiness was there. Prabhupada heard how this demon was killed. Prabhupada was happy. Our happiness comes in our relationship with Kṛṣṇa. All these pastimes are there. Prabhupada said, we have to learn and understand so we can develop our love of Kṛṣṇa. How can you love someone if you don't know them? No question of love. But the more you know about a person, especially with such wonderful qualities, then gradually one can develop some affection. Ultimately, one can develop love. So that I saw with Śrīla Prabhupada, and it was at that time I thought, this is the right process. I'm in the right place. This Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement. So many things happened during that week. We see the pride here, Kāśirāja. His pride, Pundraka's pride. That pride is there. We all have pride. I was talking to Maharaj this morning. Where does Prabhupada say, when one falls from the spiritual world, what is his first position? Many times, first position, Lord Brahma. Last week I remember a devotee asking, why does Kṛṣṇa punish us? Why does he take pleasure in punishing? Kṛṣṇa has no desire to punish his children. None at all. Imagine, you're determined to leave. That's what Prabhupada said. Kṛṣṇa tries very much to keep you. Don't go, don't go, don't go. That's not punishment. He's telling you, no, you don't want to do this. Or no, this enjoyment. I want some of this enjoyment. So what kind of punishment? You can become Lord Brahma. He'll give you your own universe. So you can try to enjoy very nicely. I'm the supreme. Imagine the idea that at one time, Lord Brahma, and now look. No longer. This was the danger. This is the danger. As soon as there's some appreciation, as soon as someone that pratishtha is there, very dangerous place, very dangerous. Prabhupada was such a unique. I would see him walking behind him, how he would offer his dandavats to the deities. It's such a devotional way. And so much humility. And then he could stand up and he looked like the Lord of the universe. All in one moment. One moment you're looking at such humility, and the next moment you can see he knows everything. He knows everything's going on. Knows what he wants to do. I know it over the years, and with Srila Prabhupada himself, he saw as he had made sannyasis. He empowered everyone, every one of his disciples. Not just his disciples, everyone here. If you're able to do something, devotional service, you have to understand it's due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Sometimes people say, oh, Prabhupada, he left and you had his association. Everyone has Prabhupada's association. Just like we have Krishna's association. But we have to develop that. We have to develop that love through our service. I was with Prabhupada a long time. After a year, I was with him for a year. We were back in Los Angeles. Being with Srila Prabhupada is not easy. Everything we did had to be with his approval. You didn't do anything, and if you did, once he found out, he would let you know. Once Mayapur, call my secretary. The secretary came in. He had made an arrangement, a travel arrangement for Srila Prabhupada without consulting him. When Prabhupada found out, furious. You don't want to be anywhere. You don't want to see him. You don't want to be within earshot. You just want to be somewhere else. Many times I was in the corner of the room and I would just sit there quietly as Prabhupada would be chastising. And he brought in his secretary and he said, what if, he said, you don't move a pin from here to here without asking me. This is what it means to be disciple, to have the spiritual master. To have that was the most wonderful thing. Prabhupada's job was always how to keep us humble. As soon as you become puffed up, everything can be finished very, very quickly. I'm like this. I'm an important person. Why are they giving the giwik to this person before me? I'm above him. All these things, all this nonsense we see. Sometimes in the temple, I'll see some poor old man, old lady trying to get to the giwik and pushing them away. This is not Krishna consciousness. It's for everyone. I tried many times. I've seen Srila Prabhupada's compassion. No matter what we've done in the past, no matter what fall down was there, the only thing Srila Prabhupada wanted to see is that one would make amends. What's the word? One would do atonement and come again and surrender to Srila Prabhupada. One of his secretaries, one of his very early disciples, he was mismanaging money so bad. One time, another time, $10,000, this way to make money, and it flopped, and this business flopped. Another business failed. You know, they say, how do you get a small devotee business? give him a big one and wait 6 months. And the devotee said to Prabhupada, when are you going to stop forgiving him? When are you going to tell him to stop? Prabhupada initially said, well, 3 times. And then he said, Vaishnava never stops forgiving. Never stops forgiving. And what is a Vaishnava? Nothing but the mercy of Kṛṣṇa, Lord Chaitanya. Huh? To say Kṛṣṇa is trying to punish us, no such thing. All he wants to do is see everyone happy in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That's what Kṛṣṇa wants. That's what Śrīla Prabhupāda wanted. Just to see everybody happy. After I was with him over 2 years, I saw him in Detroit. Was in Boston trying to open up a restaurant with Ambarish Prabhu. Prabhupada came to Detroit, so we went to Detroit. Hari Sari was his servant at that time. And after class one morning, Prabhupada was walking along the corridor. Everybody was there, offering obeisances as he went by. And I did the same, just offered obeisances. And then I saw Prabhupada's feet right in front of me. He stopped. And I lifted my head and he just looked at me. Everything is all right? Yes, Prabhupada. I never saw anyone say no, Prabhupada. Even they would want to see him because they were suffering. They'd make an appointment, wait for hours, days, maybe travel across the country from New York to Los Angeles with big problems, big devotees, managers, so they would do that. Make appointment to see Śrīla Prabhupada. Then they come in, offer obeisances. Prabhupada would be sitting behind his desk so sweetly, so intimately. And Prabhupada would look, everything is all right? Yes, Prabhupada. When you were in front of him, everything was all right. This is our business, to have the Lord right in front of us, to say, how are you? I'm wonderful, thank you. This was Prabhupada. So that's what he said to me. Everything is all right? Yes, Prabhupada. How could everything be all right with me? A few months before I was his servant and I walked away from it. What kind of delusion was I in? And I knew everything wasn't all right. I'm in Maya. But you see, Prabhupada, and no matter what else is going on, for that moment, everything is wonderful, Śrīla Prabhupada. I just get to see your lotus feet, get to see your smile, get to see your eyes like diamonds, tears in them. And then he just looked at me and said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Sounds so easy. Chant Hare Krishna, be happy. That's the happiness. Chanting Hare Krishna, serving Krishna. Someone asked me the other day, I'm chanting now 20 years. When am I going to feel? So what do you want to feel? He said, service is love. He said that to me when I questioned. I have no love. And I didn't, and I don't. But he made love something different. Love isn't some tingly feeling you're going to feel down in your fingertips and toes. Love is doing something for the person you love. Who expressed it better than Lord Chaitanya? Doesn't matter what you do. Even you pull off my head, put it at the gate there, with or without earrings. Everyone, whose head is that? Whose head? Oh, that's Srutakiriti's head. It got ripped off. No. Service is love. And if you're not happy doing your service, then you don't understand what this Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement is about. Our only business is service. And you get to see that when you're with the pure devotee. Not one moment. And if he sees you wasting your moments, he's going to tell you. That's his service. I said Prabhupada once, he was in his room. Prabhupada in his room was devotee of Kṛṣṇa, lover of Kṛṣṇa, reading Kṛṣṇa book, reading his books, chanting japa, singing bhajans, talking to others about the philosophy. This is what he did 24 hours a day. And when you entered that circle, you had to be prepared to live that lifestyle. It wasn't easy, but if you could do it, completely protected. I said, all you here in this area, we don't struggle with this, but many of you have been coastal areas. You know hurricanes and cyclones, same thing, hurricane, cyclone. In the US this year, they had some monster hurricanes. Winds like over 200 kilometers an hour, 250 kilometers an hour, 300 kilometers an hour. But when you see on the screen, when they show you, there's always that little, they call the eye of the hurricane. It might look black or something in the eye of the hurricane is blue skies, clear blue skies with the sun shining. That's the eye. It's the only safe place. Sometimes it's 10 miles wide, sometimes it could be 20 miles, but it's just this little area. And sometimes in the past they'd see dark, and then they figured out it was birds in the eye, and they would just travel along with the eye for days to stay inside the hurricane in the safe place, because it's completely calm. And the fiercest winds right outside that eye. When it was 73, when I realized I was in the eye with Śrīla Prabhupāda. I was in the eye. At that time I wasn't thinking of hurricanes. I said it was a bubble of protection. Same thing. But if you can put yourself in that state with the pure devotee and serve 24 hours a day, completely protected. But if you start to wander, you can get carried away just like that. And sometimes it seems that those who were in the eye, those who were with Śrīla Prabhupada, once they went outside, they struggled the most. They struggled the most. Because in that situation with the pure devotee, you always have your guide, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, how to do first-class service. Prabhupada never saw anything as his own. Not this temple, not any temple. Everywhere he went, he had the most beautiful rooms in different places. Bhaktivedanta Manor was one of them. Very nice facility, big sitting room. If the sun was out, Prabhupada would go sit on the lawn by the tree. He didn't care. Fancy buildings. We gave him watches. Back in those days, 1975, Rolex watches had become a fashion. Even brahmacharis would have their Seiko watches. They were very expensive, $100 back then. That was a fortune. Everyone very austere, but you could put that jewelry on your hand. You know, something, attachment was it, some way or other, to show. Prabhupada, sometimes he had 2 watches on his hand because he didn't trust anyone. I said I was with him 6 months before he let me carry his white bag. You'll see photos, Prabhupada's white bag. Later on it became a red bag. But we We define things by colors. There was the green Bhagavatam, the black Bhagavatam, there was the white bag. In the white bag was all of Prabhupada's valuables, his passport, his BBT, bank account books, everything from his death, little silver items, his gold straw, picture of his spiritual master. So he didn't let someone carry it very easily. You had to prove yourself. Every day you had to prove yourself. Guru Kripa was here last week for a week or so. He was donating tens of thousands of dollars every month to Srila Prabhupada. No one gave more money directly to Srila Prabhupada than Guru Kripa Yasodanandan Swami with their Namhata party. No one gave more to develop this temple. And we were in Hawaii. He was GBC of Hawaii, Guru Kripa at that time. And Prabhupada was there, and he was on the Vyasasan. And someone put a $5 bill at Prabhupada's feet. $5. $5 now means 400 rupees. In those days it was 35 rupees. Anyway, they put a $5 US $5 bill there at the Vyasasan. So at the end of class in Kirtan, Prabhupada gets up. Guru Kripa took the $5 and he put it in his pocket. Figuring there's no. That morning he gave Prabhupada a check for $20,000. $20,000, huh? That now, what's that, like 15 lakhs or something. Just like that, giving him checks constantly. And he gave Prabhupada that check. So he saw the $5 that was lying there. Prabhupada gets up, starts to his room, so Guru Kripa got to put it in his pocket. Then we get up to the room, and Prabhupada's sitting down. A few minutes go by. Couple of minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Prabhupada looks at Guru Kripa. He said, "Where's that $5? What do you think, it's yours?" Right here, every day, thousands of rupees are given to the deities. Jewelry is given to the deities. Garlands given to the deities. Do you think it's yours? Because it goes into your hands first? You're taking care? I knew with Prabhupada, somebody gave me something. It was for Prabhupada. It wasn't for me. They do that sometimes. Somebody gave a big box of saffron. They gave it to me. I'll give it to the deities. This is our business. Whatever we get, it belongs here. Everything belongs to Krishna Balaram. And Śrīla Prabhupada was the same. He didn't consider anything belonged to him. Only his disciples. We belong to him. And he would see that we serve the Supreme Lord. And if we could do that through him, that was our good fortune, somehow or other, to do some service to Śrīla Prabhupada. But so careful with every moment of time. As we know, time is also money. We're holding back our money, holding back our time. I always remember class in Los Angeles, 1973. 2 things I remember there in that class because it surprised me. The first one was when Prabhupada looked at his watch, said it's 8:30, 20 seconds. And he said, for millions of dollars, you cannot get that back. That's gone. That time is gone. I was sitting right there. I'd been with him a year. I was 22 years old. And I'm sitting there. You know what went through my mind? I thought, we're eternal. What's the question of wasting time? Is all we have is time eternally. I'm with Prabhupada. That's how I understood nothing, what he was saying, what he was telling all of us. I didn't get it. I realized it 20 years later, about 22 years later, when I was writing down my experiences with Srila Prabhupada. And then I thought, here I am sitting in this room, alone. No Prabhupada, dried up. I was dried up like a, dried leaf. I was so dried, going to work every day back. And I realized how much time I had lost. It took me 20 years, and realizing how much I missed having Srila Prabhupada guidance, instructions, chastisement. As Prabhupada said, chastisement's the best thing. Makes the heart very happy. Prabhupada said, when my guru chastised me, I was very happy. You never forget when he chastises you. He might compliment you, he can say so many things, but if he calls you a fool, you'll remember that. I remember being called malecha, fool, rascal, all these things. So sweet. And then when you're not around, he'll tell others, he's very expert, yes, very good. He won't tell you so that you can get puffed up. You don't want to get puffed up. My first experience in Vrindavan, I learned very quickly, don't be proud. Pride, very bad. It was right there, Radha Damodar Temple, as we said. Prabhupada organized the first Kartik festival, 1972. And it started October 15th. 3 months before, he was writing letters, telling his disciples, I'm going to Vrindavan, I'm going to stay there more than a month for Kartik. He had a plan. He was 3 months before. He was ready, couldn't wait to be in Vrindavan for Kartik with his disciples. I think he was most eager to show all the Brijbasis, all the Goswamis, his Western disciples. He was very proud of us. Whatever we may be, we gave up everything to serve Kṛṣṇa. Never mind, he said we were practicing, failing this way, failing. He said they're practicing. Let them go, they're practicing. Just like a little child worshiping the deity. We're like little children thinking we're doing service. We're qualified to do some service. So my experience was Prabhupada, he would point us out. He wanted them to see these Americans, and some of them millions of dollars. Hayagriva, he would always, big college English professor. He was a professor. Another one, his father had millions of dollars. He left his father to be here. He was telling all the locals. He was already setting up, making all of India Krishna conscious. He knew all he had to do was to imitate the Americans. They were so eager to imitate the West. And what did he do for Kartik? He gave 2 classes a day. That was our Kartik festival. Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning, Nectar of Devotion in the afternoon. We came to Vrindavan during Kartik to hear. And it's wonderful, all these parikrams. But when you get there, you have to hear. Just walking, you can walk anywhere. Millions of people are walking around last night, this morning. So many people. But the reason to come to these holy places is to hear. And of course they do that in all our groups. They go out, parikrams, and they sit down and there'll be a lecture for the day. So that's what Prabhupada wanted, and he went right to the top, to all his neophyte devotees. He sat down with Nectar of Devotion, and he told me, a month before, I'm sitting next to him on the plane, Prabhupada was meditating being here in Vrindavan for Kartik. And I'm sitting next to him, and he said, We're going to Vrindavan. It's still September. It's not even October. It's September. And Prabhupada said, we're heading to Vrindavan for Kartik. I said, Kartik didn't mean anything. I didn't know what that meant, Kartik. He said, and when we go, he said, every day I'm going to speak from nectar of devotion. He said, you can read. He said, and I'll stop you and make comments. Yes, Prabhupada. The voice you hear is Pradyumna's. That was Pradyumna's service. His service was reading Srimad Bhagavatam for Śrīla Prabhupāda class. But I had my own service, and I was recording all those lectures. I recorded sometimes in very difficult, very slow on this reel-to-reel tape player because we didn't have enough tape to record. But already now, I've been with Prabhupada a whole 1 month. I left my home for the first time in the USA, flying here, flying there, and we end up in Vrindavan. So now, Radha Damodar Temple, if you didn't see it 20 years ago or so, you wouldn't know what it looked like there. It was very, very sweet. Just the Samadhi, Bhajan Kutir were there. It was just can't even say a lawn. It was just Braj everywhere. It was just dirt. And they had to fix it up for Prabhupada's arrival. And he spoke there. Some of the locals would come. And Prabhupada was a known personality here in Vrindavan. So they would come. So, as he said the other day, big festival, maybe 40 devotees. It was a huge festival, Kartik, biggest Kartik festival. And most everyone was from the West, Europe and America. And I was there in the bubble, but I was confused as Prabhupada's servant. I was proud being Prabhupada's servant. And I was fanning him, like you see there, and fanning Prabhupada with the chamara fan. They didn't have peacock fans. So the recorder's on Prabhupada's speaking, and I'm fanning very nicely, like an artik ceremony. And there's flies buzzing around his head. And one landed right on his forehead. And I'm just like this, not even considering what am I doing here other than just showing off. But I didn't know it. And then finally, just like this, you hear this speaker, Prabhupada say, get someone up here with some intelligence. That was the first time he crushed me. Wasn't the last time, but it was the first time. Right there in front of the whole world of devotees. The whole world of devotees there, Prabhupada said that. And I say like the Statue of Liberty, like that. And this one eccentric brahmachari from England, we say eccentric because he was a character, funny. So we say eccentric. And he was tall, big tall. And he came up and he just pulled it out of my hands. I was literally frozen. He just grabbed it. And then I went, sat back on the floor, and I started playing with the knobs on the recorder. So I still think, no, you're still can be proud. You're doing something here for pride. Still, I got some pride. Wasn't all gone yet. So I'm acting like I'm important. And then this devotee, he gets the chamara fan and he's going. Everything went away. And Prabhupada never stopped lecturing. He just inserted that within the lecture. You fool. You'll be intelligent when you're 8. Get someone up here with some intelligence. So now he's still speaking. Nectar of devotion. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And right as he's speaking, he looks at the boy and goes, no, very good. Then he finished crushing me at that point. Then I realized I have no ego. I have to let go of everything. Of course, it popped right back up again. Walking to his room that evening, one brahmachari, I was behind Prabhupada. I would usually just walk beside him. But I literally was like 3 steps behind. I was so broken. And devotee said, oh, you're so fortunate, Srutakiriti, Prabhupada chastised you. I went, yeah. You try it. You try it on for size. See how long you can do it. This was it. We couldn't tolerate. People asked why you leave, why they left so many people, so many servants, so many secretaries. One reason, false ego. That's the only reason. They can say this, they can say that. It was all our false ego. Being with a pure devotee who was constantly trying to show us the way. Constantly telling us, no, not like that, like this. Do like that, do like this. Minute after minute. Don't do anything without my permission. And if you live like that, you can stay inside the eye of the storm. Otherwise, no one knows where you're going to get thrown. Just like the hurricane. You find sometimes they find cars in trees, animals in trees, anything everywhere, miles away. This is what can happen. So we have an opportunity, especially this month, very special month during Kartik, to pray to Śrīla Prabhupāda and the Lord to always keep us protected, keep us inside the bubble of Kṛṣṇa consciousness that Prabhupada has provided. And to do that, there's only one way. One has to develop service, a humble service attitude. And with that attitude, you can do very nicely and be happy in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Hare Krishna. Panchagoda is not here today. So the first question, my godbrother Shruti, Prabhu.
Thank you for bringing Prabhupada consciousness to us. I had an experience like that when something was wrong. It was during the India-Pakistan war, and I was doing the artik, and behind the deities was the big window, and I could see bombs coming out of the planes and dropping. And it was like, I'm in the middle of a bombing range while I'm doing the artik. So I used to go, after artik, I would go into Prabhupada's room and give him the flour and the water from the artik. And the next day I'm in like anxiety, thinking I have to get out of here because we're being bombed. You could see the bombs exploding. And Prabhupada was talking with Tamal Kṛṣṇa and a couple others, and he stopped them. He says, just a minute. And he looked up at me and he said, so everything is all right? And just like that, the anxiety left. Well, which was good because my mother called later and said that we saw in the news that you'd been bombed by Pakistan. Are you okay? I said, yes, I'm okay with Prabhupada. But just like that, the anxiety was lifted. It was amazing.
When in 75, the very famous morning walk when Prabhupada said World War III will begin soon. All the devotees, soon meant like next week to the devotees. Prabhupada said soon, World War III. He said many things, and then more and more you could see the devotees, everyone's talking, and Prabhupada was transcendental, transcendental all the time.
Hare Krishna.
And he said, if we see the bomb's coming, Prabhupada said, he looked up, if we see the bomb coming, we'll say, here comes Kṛṣṇa. This is devotee. But there's so many things happened in the last several months in the US, political things. And I'm always in shock when devotees get so involved in it, thinking, we're the most fortunate people. Prabhupada said, you have a short time, 50, 60 years. We already exceeded all of that. We don't know how much time is left. Don't waste 1 minute in these mundane activities. What is the point? You have to prepare yourself. We have this wonderful vehicle in this lifetime. What to speak of us being here in Vrindavan? War, no war. What is the difference? All we do, Prabhupada, is chant Hare Krishna. And if the bomb comes, it'll be quick. And if you're chanting, everything will be all right. Okay. Who's? Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. You mentioned that you left your service and it sounds like you regretted it. So I was wondering, what practical advice would you give the younger version of yourself to not leave? What practical instructions would you give to stay?
Practical instruction. Well, the morning program is the best part of your day. That Prabhupada said to attend the morning program actually is, and that was part of the difficulty. Traveling with Śrīla Prabhupada was, our morning program could be very much disrupted on a regular basis. Chanting rounds, getting up early, even taking prasadam. You know, Prabhupada, we kept his regulation, but then we could become not as regulated, you know, with difficulty. Regulation is one of the keys, and part of that is what Prabhupada called the routine, which means rising early in the morning, cold bath, morning program, class, chanting rounds. So not to let up. Once Prabhupada was going on a morning walk, one boy didn't offer obeisances. Just went like this. Everybody was down on the ground. He was like, it was a young boy. And Prabhupada looked at me, he said, that's the beginning of his fall down. So how delicate is our creeper, our devotional creeper. He said, that's the beginning of his fall down. Just that one lax thing, thinking, everything is important. That's what I learned with Srila Prabhupada. He would say, use the term most important, but he applied it to just about everything. The morning program, distributing books, worshiping the deity, everything is most important. So the Krishna consciousness process, everything's important. But that in particular here, and I see it myself here, morning program it gives you the strength to carry through the day. Hare Krishna. All right, we can do one more if you want. All right. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your class. I just wanted to ask, so you mentioned that during Kartik, Srila Prabhupada was giving classes, and I just was wondering whether he would also take you the way we do now, we go for pilgrimages to different places. Would he also do that?
I didn't catch that last
whether Srila Prabhupada would take you to different places of pilgrimages during Kartik?
No, we didn't go in. I stayed at Radha-Damodar temple. I didn't know how to get to the Jamuna. I didn't wander from my room. That was also part of our service. You never went anywhere. And the servant in particular, you were grounded 24/7 in your room. The only time you left your room was to answer the bell. And I complained about that to Prabhupada. And he said, we both go for a morning walk. He was comparing me with him. He's going on he said, you come on the morning walk with me, we both go outside and walk, then we go back to our rooms. So he was saying, what's the difference? I can do it, you can do it. Yeah, like Guru Kripa said the other day at Prabhupada's Tirubhava, when he called Guru Kripa 1 o'clock in the morning. He said, why are you sleeping? He said, I'm not sleeping. And Guru Kripa said, you're a Paramahamsa. Prabhupada said, why aren't you a Paramahamsa? He made it seem, when he was here, he made it seem like we were all Krishna conscious, and there was no question at the end of this life we were going to go back home, back to Godhead. That's what it made it seem like. And that's, I think, one of the reasons we were all so eager to somehow or other just try to do service. I started saying earlier about the sannyasis. Prabhupada knew they were going to fall down. He said, but he empowered them just by giving them sannyas, and they did. it's evident what they did. 6 months, 6 years, 10 years, whatever it was. They were empowered by Śrīla Prabhupāda. But I've gradually see that all of his disciples, we all came from a background was not pure. All came from the West. We're all meat eaters, intoxication, illicit sex. This is who became his disciples. But he thought, never mind, you just do service. And when one would fall down, he would say, do service. So his program is, do service. Whatever else you're doing, do service. And somehow or other that will save you. All right. Hare Krishna. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai.